Good evening, candidates, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patty Leroy. I'm the president of the Women's Club of Ocoee. On behalf of the Women's Club, I would like to welcome you to the 2023 Political Forum, sponsored by the Women's Club of Ocoee. Tonight, we will be hearing from candidates from District 1 and District 3 Commission seats. Helping tonight with tonight's event, the Women's Club members are moderator Kathy Sills, Sue Lowry and Michelle Cummings will be asking the questions of the candidates, and other members assisting in various capacities will be asked to come out at the end of the event. The Women's Club has held the political forums for several decades in order to provide the citizens of the community with the opportunity to hear the views of the political candidates that are running for an elected office. We, as an organization and as individual members, provide this forum with an unbiased view. The forum will be televised on Spectrum, Channel 493, at which time questions from residents may be called in during the broadcast at 407-554-7118 or 407-656-7115. Also, questions may be an email to citizens@ocoee.org. The forum will be live streamed and go to the city's website, www.ocoee.org. Go to quick links, select live stream. This contact information will be shown across the screen several times during tonight's presentation. I will now turn the forum over to Kathy Sills.
Thank you, Patty. Again, good evening. Thank you for attending tonight's political forum. For the audience, the format for the political forum is as follows. Citizens may also present questions via email or telephone, as Patty has already outlined. All questions will be given to a review panel prior to being delivered to the questioners. This is done to avoid any repetition of statements or questions of a personal nature and to prevent the widest variety of subjects and issues. The civility code will be strictly adhered to. Due to time constraints, we are requesting applause to be held until closing remarks. Please, no vocalized comments or opinions during the forum. The forum will end no later than 8:45 p.m. Time constraints may prevent all questions from being presented. If you have any questions or concerns that are not addressed in the forum, please contact the candidates personally at another time. We have runners stationed in the chamber. Please raise your hand if you need a question form or have one completed. Our runners will retrieve or deliver the forms as needed. I'll now introduce the candidates and then go over the format of the forum for them. Running for District 1 is Scott Kennedy and Hope Bellamy. Running for District 3 is incumbent Rich Firstner and challenger Shantae Munns. Candidates, when we begin, you'll be allowed a 3-minute presentation according to the following format: introduction of yourself, educational background, present or former occupation, number of years you've lived in Ocoee, your political platform to include ideas for the future of Ocoee, and your plans to accomplish them. When questions are presented, the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question directed to them. Again, we have strict time constraints in order to allow as many questions as possible during the forum. If a question has been presented and answered, you will not be permitted to revisit that question with the context of another. You may readdress or add to your closing statement. We will take a 10-minute break after the first 30 to 35 minutes of questions. At the conclusion of the question portion of the forum, each candidate will have 3 minutes for a final statement. We will now begin the question and answer portion of the forum. I will turn the meeting over to our questions, Sue Lowry and Michelle Cummings.
Go ahead, you have it. Let me see. Did you just read that? Did you just read that?
The last sentence.
Oh, okay. We will now begin with the opening statements, and we'll follow with questions from the citizens of Ocoee.
Okay, we're starting with District 1, Scott Kennedy.
Good evening. I'm Scott Kennedy. I want to thank you for the opportunity to tell you about myself and my candidacy. As a young man, I watched my dad lead missions and ministries. He ran charities and he mentored leaders through his nonprofit work. It was a good role model for me. He led by his example, and he taught me that to lead is to serve others. I've literally been volunteering since I was 10 years old. As a member of a youth organization, that instilled in me the values of inclusion, fairness, and loyalty to my community. Professionally, I'm a licensed CPA, and I work as a chief financial officer in a local business. Our office is at Silver Star and Mercy Drive, about a mile from where I grew up, where my parents still live, and where I graduated high school at Evans. My wife, Melita, is here. We chose to live in Ocoee when we got married, and almost 20 years later, we're still very proud to call Ocoee our home. I think a candidate should have a record of service in the community they seek to lead. In my case, that includes serving my neighbors as an HOA president for almost 15 years, as well as serving on the Human Relations Diversity Board, the Planning and Zoning Board, and several other city projects. On March 14th, District 1 will elect a new leader. My priorities are to improve the traffic and congestion, reduce the speeding, and the senseless fatalities that go with it. We need safer streets, and we need to budget for the concerns of our residents. We need to balance growth with infrastructure while preserving the character of Ocoee, why we all fell in love and moved here in the first place. I'm sure we will get into more detail about the issues tonight, but if you want a competent, sincere, and effective commissioner for District 1, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you for the invitation from the Women's Club, and I look forward to a great conversation tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Okay, Mr. Bellamy,
Yes.
you are next, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hope Bellamy. Before I even start to what I'm currently doing, let me back it up for who I once was in order to tell you who I am here today. What you're looking at right here is from the 1995 to 1998 incarceration photos from prison. Many of you will hear that I got a criminal background. Many of you will hear half story and not the whole story. You will hear about things in 2018, but you won't hear about the lawsuit in the throughout part. But what you won't hear is what I'm going to share with you about who I am today. For the last 20 plus years, I have been boots on the ground in not just one community or one state, but several and across the globe. On my website, you will see that house bills have been changed because of me. Minimum wage, $15 an hour, started because of me. Educational forms and bills is there. These links can be seen on my website to show you that my current state is great. I'm not coming with being on the volunteer boards. I'm coming with boots on the ground, things that I actually implicated. House bills. You won't find no one in Ocoee history at all, elected official who spoke in Senate, House, and legislation floor in D.C. several times for House bills. You won't find a candidate that been in the White House for 3 different presidents. See, they won't tell you all these things, but go on my website, it's there. I have been bashed. I have been threatened. Signs been torn down. People tell me they're gonna kill me in my house. But guess what, Ocoee? I'm here, boots on the ground. I'm not the politician that stays in an office and just want to be on boards and panels. I'm in the community fighting for you guys. I'm coming to your doorstep to find out what is the issue at hand. I could come up here and give you a long list of what I'm going to do. It doesn't work like that. There's things you can and cannot do in this seat. You're going to hear things of sidewalks and lights and all this
Sir,
stuff.
your time is up, sir.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay, we will now hear from our incumbent, Richard Firstner.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Women's Club of Ocoee for inviting us all here tonight. I've been a resident of District 3 for the past 13 years. Excuse me. I've worked for the city since 1995. My career in public safety spans the last 35 years of both police and fire service. I was the Ocoee Fire Chief for 14 years, and that's where I retired from. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I served 6 years in the Navy Reserve during the Vietnam conflict. A couple of things to show you what my background is that in 2017, I was appointed to the Florida League of Cities Legislative Policy Committee for Finance, Taxation, and Personnel, where we developed the Florida League of Cities positions on current bills in the House and Senate. I've also been the city's representative on the Municipal Advisory Committee to the Metro Plan Orlando, which is the regional transportation planning group in Central Florida. Overall, I feel that I'm well-rounded in experience and education that qualifies me for a city commissioner position. My priorities have been and will continue to be the quality and value of residential neighborhoods. That seems to be the most important thing of the residents of Ocoee. They've worked all their life to buy their homes. They're proud of their homes, and they want to keep them with the values remaining constant. I believe in a high level of public safety. We have both fire and police departments that are nationally credited, and they're the best service that money can buy. I believe in low-density residential development, intelligent growth and economic development, and I also want to see to completion the downtown redevelopment effort. We've put a lot of money, $40 million, in the project, and it's well on its way, and it's coming near completion now. You can see it in the City Hall and the Lakeshore Center, but there's still a lot of work to do, and I'd like to see that completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Firstner. All right, time to start the question and answer phase. Again, you will have 2 minutes.
You know, Candy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Buns. I am so sorry. I got ahead of myself here. So I do apologize. Shantae Munns, District 3.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shantae Munns. I am a native to the Orange County area, born and raised in Orlando, Florida. I am a formal high school track and field coach of 9 years. A business owner. Can you hear me?
It's on?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Turn off.
It turned off. Okay, sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Let me start over. My name is Shantae Munns. I'm a native to the Orange County area, born and raised in Orlando, Florida. I have been a track and field coach for over 9 years. I am an active volunteer with the Daily Bread Distribution Center and the International Associate of Academic Methods for over 20 years. There we service Central Florida, which consists of the Orange County, Seminole County, Osceola, and Volusia County areas. As a small business owner, I have learned to advocate and help for my clients, to navigate through the systems to receive resources as needed to be successful. I understand firsthand the challenges facing small business owners today, as well as the communities they operate in. My goals as your next commissioner of Ocoee would be to revitalize our city as we work together to bring greater levels of service and accountability for residential concerns, enhance of our green areas, parks, buildings, greater cooperation between the city and residents. My experiences uniquely position myself for a blueprint for the City of Ocoee to ensure the people of District 3 to have a zealous representation that they deserve. My background is in sports training, business management, case management, and community outreach. There, I feel that the city will actually take that, utilize it, and grow to where they need to become. Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, you will have 2 minutes to answer the questions as they're presented to you. Turn it over to Sue and to Michelle.
The first question I have is directed to Mr. Bellamy and Ms. Munns. Please explain the latest recreation program that is interested in being located in Ocoee, and what are the benefits of the residents? Ms. Munns?
Okay. Repeat the question?
Please explain the latest recreation program that is interested in being located in Ocoee, and what are the benefits to the residents?
I'm not sure which one in particular, if they're talking about the baseball or, in particular, which one you're actually talking about. So that's a broad statement. If it's in relation to the baseball, I wasn't fully there with all the meetings with that. So to answer that question would be like someone who's not on the board, you're just talking. I don't actually see the benefit it is to the general public besides our traffic. I don't see what's going to benefit the community. I don't know if they are supposed to give the city something, the residents something, or make something better. We have not been privy to that information.
Ms. Munns?
You're talking about the sports complex with the softball. I think it would be a great opportunity for Ocoee to actually look at the venue of having that, being that it will bring income to the economy, it will bring a lot more jobs and businesses as well, but also at the same point in time, I would like to see other sports, not just year-round baseball, because you have more interest. Well, yes, year-round baseball, there is a lot of interest, but you want to attract more than just one sport. So I feel if they have other sports that wasn't mentioned in the last, I don't want to say commissioners meeting, the last one of December, it would bring more opportunity to other sports that are out there, like softball, like tennis. Just to have baseball only, I think is just a little bit limited. But as in driving dollars, money value, and everything to the city with economic development, yes, as long as it's sustainable growth and that the traffic does not actually, if the traffic comprehends with the building process, yes, but you don't want to have too much traffic to where it's overcrowded and you have a bigger problem than what's planned. But overall, I think that the sports complex is a good idea to actually bring forth.
This question is to all the everybody, and we'll start with Mr. Firstner. What local Ocoee civic organization do you belong to outside of anything associated to your work?
Currently, I am not a member of a civic organization. In the past, I've belonged to the Ocoee Rotary Club. I've also participated in the Read to Succeed program through the Orange County Public School System, where we mentored young children in school for reading. I spend a lot of time dedicating my time and resources to the United Cerebral Palsy Charter School System, where my wife works, and she keeps me very busy. In the past, I've dedicated my time to the Daily Bread program in the Christian Service Center here in town. I was able to do that for a couple of years, where I was lucky enough to provide meals for the local residents that were in need of them, and it was quite rewarding. I'm also active in my church, Holy Family Catholic Church, and that's about it. I don't belong to a civic organization, though, outside of my official duties.
Okay. Ms. Munns?
Well, there is one organization that I can say that is in Ocoee as well as in Orlando. That's IAMS. It's the International Association of Academic Methods. I've been a member with them, like I said, for over 20 years. They do community outreach, they do services, they team up with government agencies to give out cell phones, foods, tablets. They actually provide resources to the community. They do programs. They have seminars to help educate our business owners. With the Back to School drive, we actually fund that for neighborhoods who are unfortunate, that they don't have the funding to do. You do have well-off neighborhoods that we don't intend to tend to at times because they're well off. So as in helping the whole district as a whole, like I said, we help the whole Central Florida area. It does not matter if it's Orange County, Seminole County, Osceola, or Volusia. With this organization, we help all communities.
Thank you. Mr. Bellamy?
Yes. Anything specifically to Ocoee, no. Orange County, yes. We have a reading program, because Central Florida as a whole has a low rate of reading literacy for children and adults, so we do have a reading program. We also have a feeding program where we actually feed individual homeless people overnight. We do target Ocoee area because Ocoee doesn't have a lot of what we call tent cities that homeless people are actually living at now. So that's what I do as far as on a bigger scale, not just Ocoee based. Do I have things that will be for Ocoee based? Just not District 1, yes, if I'm elected.
Mr. Kennedy?
That's a good question. My life is full of work-related associations and volunteering on city boards. What I do outside of that, the bulk of my volunteer time is as the president of the Forest Brook Homeowners Association. That can be a thankless job, and I spend a lot of time answering questions, directing homeowners, especially new homeowners, and welcoming them to the city. An HOA is just kind of, it's a big family. It's a very diverse family, and every time someone new moves in the neighborhood, you know, that family just gets a little bigger, and that's one more person that you have to help get acclimated. And, you know, they want to know simple things. They want to know what day is trash day, what day is recycling day. So that's what I spend my time, the bulk of my time, investing in my community. And that's what I'm looking to do running for the district, is to expand the work that I'm already doing.
Okay, the next question is directed to Ms. Munns. Since your permanent homesteaded residence is in Metro West and not in Ocoee, why are you running for a commissioner in a city in which you do not reside?
To answer that question, the supervisors of election and the state of Florida law have qualified me as a candidate that lives in the district. So if they have any other concerns concerning that, I think they should take it up with the state of Florida. And as for my residence, yes, I do live here in Ocoee. It doesn't matter how many properties I own, my residence is in Ocoee. Thank you.
This next question is for Hope Bellamy. How do you interpret the Florida Sunshine Law?
When you look at the Florida Sunshine Law, we must know and understand that's the law of the old. That's not anything that applies to me. I'm not a person that will read the Sunshine Law. I read it numerous times to try to placate like it means a big deal, a whole lot to me. I don't really have a concern with the Sunshine Law. That's my answer.
Okay, the next question is for the District 3 candidates, and it's a three-part question. Are there plans for improvements to Palm Drive, sidewalks, realignment of the access to Ocoee Road? Number 2, when will the north end of Lakewood be reopening? Anytime soon? And 3, are there plans to connect Worst Road to Pine Street west of Ocoee? Mr. Firstner?
Okay, the first part of the question, Palm Drive. Right now, there is industrial development going up around Palm Drive. It borders to the east side of Palm Drive. A big concern with that right now is the residents that live on Palm Drive. They do not want all of the industrial traffic funneling through Palm Drive to make a shortcut over to the 429. We've worked with the manufacturing developers out there, and they are going to put in auxiliary roads that prevent them from cutting through on Palm Drive. So that's a stopgap measure. There will be other roads that will be developed by those industrial properties that will take care of most of their traffic. North Lakewood, that is, as far as I know, up in District 1. The question regarding North Lakewood was, when will that be completed? Is that the question?
When will the north end of Lakewood be reopening?
Well, they still have to realign the road up on the north end of Lakewood to West Road. There's still development underway up there, and when that development is complete, then the realignment of North Lakewood will be taken care of. And then further south on Lakewood at Worst Road, there's also development to the west of Lakewood on that where Worst Road dead ends right now. There is properties that we're looking at between Lakewood and Ocoee there that we do plan on extending the road through there, and that will increase or make available an additional north-south roadway in the middle of the area up there between Silver Star and Clarkona, Ocoee.
Okay, just for everybody out there in the audience, I did allow extra time because that was a three-part question, and there's no way they could have done it in 2 minutes, so.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Munns, same question. Do you need me to read it again?
Probably so. It was a lot.
Okay. The first part, are there plans for improvements to Palm Drive, sidewalks, realignment of access to Ocoee Road? The second part, when will the north end of Lakewood be reopening? And the third part, are there plans to connect Worst Road to Pine Street west of Ocoee Apopka?
Okay, well, let me address the second question first. As in the plans of it reopening, I'm not on the board, I can't answer that one for one. The first question, going back to Palms Drive, I believe that the residents in that area need to be safe. Yes, there need to be sidewalks where they can walk on and not trip or slip on a pothole, because if you come up here down Blueford, I'm not sure if you pass through the business district, you will see as you turn in, there's a great big pothole that's on the city side that has not been repaired or fixed. I do not know if they're going to fix it or not, but when it comes down to issues like this is something that we need to pay attention to attentively. And when it comes to the development, I think we need to look at our options. We need to make sure that the roads that are being built do not come through and do not cause more congestion in a neighborhood just by adding something else there. So I would just pretty much expand all my options, look at them, make sure that whatever option we go and where we're going to build a road at, that it doesn't affect the residents as much. Because when you start affecting the flow of traffic with the residents in the neighborhood, you're going to have more congestion, more accidents, more pollution, more complaints. And one thing we here, the city do not want to hear is complaints. So with constituent services, I think that if they would go ahead and get more of the residential view on what they would think, as in a road going here or there, that would be good impact for the city to have, rather than just pretty much base it off of what they can conclude. If they come back and say, okay, we have an option of building a road here on Palms Drive, or building the road on the next consecutive street over, or finding an area that they can actually go through, that would be helpful for them. The last question, I'm sorry, please repeat that again.
The second part was, when will the north end of Lakewood be completed? And you said you could not answer that.
Right,
And I think you've answered the other two,
okay, no problem then.
for Palm Drive and for Pine Street.
Yes, ma'am.
The next question is for both Ms. Munns and Mr. Bellamy. Mr. Bellamy, I'll start with you. Since you are a new resident to Ocoee, why do you feel you're qualified to run for the office in this city?
First part is I'm not actually new to Ocoee. I've been in Ocoee, what people don't understand is, for the last 7 years, I travel a lot in the country and out the country. But my family has been here in Ocoee. I just never was live wired or say I'm here in Ocoee. It wasn't my business to say I'm here in Ocoee to anyone. I was a resident. The reason why I feel like, though, I'm qualified to run is because of the issues that we have here in Ocoee. We talk about the same issues year after year after year, the sidewalks and this and sidewalks that, development. But we gotta understand the administration that been in office all these years have allowed it to get to this point. We need doors. We need doors and we need resources. So by me running, I'm bringing resources to the community that's not gonna cost the taxpayers dollars out their pocket. So I'm bringing resources. That's why I feel as though I am the best candidate for this position. I'm not taking from the community. I'm coming to enhance the community.
Ms. Munns?
I would say I'm no stranger to Ocoee. I have fans, family, relatives, colleagues who've lived here in Ocoee for over plenty of years. As my childhood growing up, I was pretty much over in Ocoee. So to say that Ocoee is a stranger to me, no, it's not. Why do I feel that I'm privileged enough to take the opportunity up to run for this position? For one, I can engage with anyone from all different walks of life. I've proven that through community service. Not everyone can go to the homeless and offer them a need for care. Not anyone can step into a drug-infested environment and be welcome. Not anyone can step in any type of neighborhood and actually assess anybody. You learn that through case management. You learn that through outreach ministry. You learn that through a lot of different things. And with the Ocoee, one thing that I feel needs improvement is responsible government. Ensuring that the residents have essential resources and services that the community needs. often residents, they fall through the cracks. Why? Because we do not follow up. We do not get back with them in a timely manner. And a lot of times when residents face their concerns, their needs, their thoughts, who knows when they're going to get an answer back. So when you actually sit there and someone has a call and a need, my job is to take on that problem until it's resolved. That's why I'm the candidate, the best choice for this district. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is addressed to all candidates, and Mr. Kennedy, we'll start with you. Conducting an independent audit of Ocoee's finances has emerged as an election issue. Currently, Ocoee submits an annual financial report to the state each year. Do you support an independent audit of the city's finances? Why or why not?
Thank you for your question. First, I want to apologize. Campaigning is a new experience for me, and I went out and campaigned very hard this weekend, and I've got a little congestion, so please forgive me. As I mentioned, I'm a licensed CPA, and I've been coming to the budget workshops for many years. I like numbers. And so with your indulgence, I'm going to try to explain something, because there's several candidates in these races and other races that I think are spreading misinformation. The comprehensive annual financial report, just like the financial statements and the reports at the company you work at, are prepared by the internal financial team of the city. Just like the company I work at as a chief financial officer, I prepare the financial statements internally. If you go to the Ocoee website and you pull down that report, after the cover pages, literally page 1 and 2 of that report are the independent auditor's report. There is an independent auditor's report of the financial statements of the city. It's not an internal audit. It's an external audit. It's subject to the standards of auditing and government accounting. I've heard people say there isn't an external audit. There is. I've heard people say that we should have an operational audit to see where the money goes. A financial audit is an audit that sees where the money goes. We have that in the city, and I think the staff does a wonderful job. Thank you.
Mr. Bellamy?
Yes. Repeat the question.
Conducting an independent audit of Ocoee's finances has emerged as an election issue. Currently, Ocoee submits an annual financial report to the state each year. Do you support an independent audit of the city's finances? Why or why not?
As a company owner, I never see that why would there be a reason not to have an audit, internal, external, if you have nothing out of place, if you have nothing out of line. If every dollar and penny is counted for, having a ton of audits doesn't make a difference. Yes, I heard about the audit, and a lot of people seem to saying we want to audit in Ocoee. If I was the mayor and I know everything is done correctly, why would I be in support in favor of having an audit? As long as that audit is not going to be costing us city residents any more money to conduct the independent audit. I want to know where would the money be coming from if we're going to get an outside audit done. So far as the numbers, if it's not right, then we got to audit. But Mr. Kennedy said there information that's on the website. I don't think he would not agree with that. So independent audit, external audit, I'm for it. I'm for it.
Ms. Bellamy? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Munns.
I support an independent audit, and I would recommend that one be done quarterly. This way, it holds accountability more often than just one time a year. So yes, I am in support of one, and with accountability, you can also see everything that's been done on a quarterly basis rather than wait for the annual report at the end of the year. So that way, if you catch funds that are mismanaged, you can catch them early rather than at the end of the year when everything's said and done.
Mr. Furstner?
Mr. Kennedy was absolutely correct in his statement about the financial audit of the city. As a matter of fact, we've won awards for our financial practices and the way that we keep our books. For years, we have. An operational audit, I don't have an objection to that, but I have stated in open commission meetings that before we agree to go ahead and formally arrange an audit of anything, I want to see a defined scope of work, and I also want to see the cost that that's going to entail. Operational audits could become very, very expensive. They do the finances once a year, and that seems to be enough. If we do that on a quarterly basis, we're going to be spending more money on audits than we are on anything else. Like I said, I have no objection, but I want to see what the scope of work of this audit is going to entail. If there's a problem operationally, then it may justify an audit. But right now, I put my faith in the administration of this city. As far as what I can tell, it's running very well. The department directors of the city are pleased with the way they function and how they're treated. And the employees show that they're happy to work for Ocoee. So I personally don't see a need for an operational audit at this time.
Do you want to ask these first?
Okay. This question is to all of you, and I'll start with Mr. Bellamy. How would you plan on dealing with the substantial growth in population in your district during the next 4 to 8 years?
Great question. And I'm one of the residents who's living in the district and said, what do we have here going on? I have an issue with the way my district is actually growing. Part of the issue was that the community as a whole was not at none of these meetings to voice our opinion when the developers came into town. We always get the information after the developers here, meeting with these boards, meeting with the mayor, meeting with the commissioner, then we see a cone or sign going up. Now we're like, oh, they're building something here. I've been on Adair Street for 7 years, and I didn't even knew that we were about to become a main thoroughway on Adair Street until one day I woke up in the morning and couldn't get out of my driveway. There's a big concern of mine with the traffic there. I think that we need to hold the current mayor and the commissioners and the planning boards accountable for those actions to see why wasn't the developers meeting with the community. We need to figure out how can we hold the developers accountable for supporting traffic or smart cities or alternate routes for us here in that district. We have one Publix over there. Then you might think about another grocery store. There's things that was not in consideration that the public is aware of.
Ms. Munns, do you need me to repeat the question?
No.
Okay.
Basically, with economic development, we need to be accountable of sustainable growth by effectively creating roadways, having developers contribute to share cost, ensuring that representation of diversity and unity is displayed equally. What I mean by economic development, let's just say we have or we want to build a housing development. For one, we have to make sure that there is enough land. You do not want wildlife coming in because you tore up their habitat. There has to be some place left for trees, for nature itself. It's already bad that we have a bad water problem as it is in Florida with the aquifer. So when we go about developing areas or bringing anything into our city, we need to learn to look at, okay, sustainable growth a little bit at a time. We do not want to become like Kissimmee, where they're overgrowing in population. There is no roads. They didn't think about the roads and the infrastructure as they were building. And because of that, you have a lot of congestion, a lot of complaints, a lot of pollution, and a lot of other things that they didn't think about beforehand. So when we look at it, we need to look at it at a close level of sustainable growth, but growing slowly to the point where we don't make any mistakes or errors, that we look over it closely and precisely to where we can be like, that's it, this is how we're going to do it, and it will work the first time through.
Mr. Furstner?
District 3 is just about built out as far as residents go. There's no more usable land down there where large developments can come in. We're keeping a close eye on multifamily residents. We have one development down there, which is under construction now. I listened to the residents, I talked to them, and they told me that they did not want apartments, short-term rentals. I worked with the developer and did not approve his initial plans on putting apartments in there. And with a little help, they changed their ways and they changed their business plan to make them townhomes and condominiums where they're owned outright, they're not rental properties. That's one thing. Seeing that there's not much more room down there to build additional residents, I think we need to concentrate on keeping the infrastructure maintained properly. We need to keep our roadways maintained. We're in the process of resurfacing most of the major roads in District 3, which south of the Turnpike, there are only 2 or 3 main roads. And the areas that do have available properties to develop on, we need to adhere to the zoning ordinances and make sure that commercial stays with commercial, residential stays with residential, and we don't mix them unless it's a planned unit development. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Great question. My experience serving my community and partnering with the city government has taught me not to overpromise and underdeliver. We have, as I said, we need to plan our priorities, and we simply can't continue to lower taxes and swear off all new development. As I said, we need to balance growth with the appropriate infrastructure. I'm not here to promise to make Ocoee a smart city or any other shiny new words that have been invented. Let me tell you what I've done. The foundation of my campaign is to expand what I've done. When I first came to the city and started working, before we had an HOA, just in our neighborhood, Commissioner Hood called me and he said, "Scott, I need your help." We had a town hall, we had a workshop at the city, and 2 people showed up. Exactly true. And the challenge is, how do you get the word out? How do you get people engaged? How do you get them to come to the workshops? How do you find out what they want? And what I started doing, I said, well, why don't you come to me? And I held the first city town hall in my clubhouse. And I had the whole city government there. Mayor Scott, the chiefs, the public works director, they all came to my clubhouse. And I had over 100 people there, more people than are here tonight, and more people that ever come to a workshop. And I think, you know, I'm in business. You have to innovate. You have to think outside the box. And we do have to engage the community in these questions. And I think it can be done, and I want the opportunity to lead and to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take a 10-minute break.
Ladies and gentlemen, please fill out some questions. I know that you've listened to quite a lot of dialogue, and some questions sure probably have popped up. So please ask one of our ladies to give you a form, and let's keep this rolling. Again, if you have questions, you can raise your hand, and one of our members will bring a form to you to fill out and come back and collect it from you. This is your opportunity to ask the questions to find out what these candidates are going to do to keep the city the center of good living. Okay, next question, please.
Okay, this question is for all the candidates. What is your vision for the future of Ocoee in the next 10 years? We'll start with Ms. Mums.
For one, my vision, first of all, has to start with the foundation of the city and the residents and the business owners all getting accord on one page. Because when you have division all over, you can't build anything. So basically starting with constituent services, being accountable of city services and getting back to the residents and building ways that we can bridge the past with the future, that would be my number one goal. Finding unity within one another, that'll be one of my goals. Because you cannot move unless you once agree to move forward with one another. And right now, the City of Ocoee, if you go on the websites, whether it be the police department and you look up and see what the citizens think for a citizens review, you'll get mixed reviews. About 53% say the police department's doing well. The other is saying that it could use improvement. Same thing with the city website. You have other residents that I've actually walked and engaged and knocked doors with. They have their complaints. Their complaints is that the city does not get back to them in a proper amount of time. So that's one big major issue that I want to fix. Another issue is bringing economic development, giving business owners some incentives to actually come here to Ocoee and actually grow with the City of Ocoee as well. We want to bring in business owners, developments that's going to actually help the city, not just benefit one personnel or one side of the city, benefit everybody from residents, business owners, and the city. Secondly, improving our environmental conditions. As you can see with our infrastructure, we still have some roads and sidewalks that need to be fixed and repaired. And by doing this, hopefully, when you get the feedback from the community or you see it yourself, sometimes we need to just take the initiative to go ahead and start a project and fix it and not wait for a citizen to call in and say, hey, we're having problems. So in general, overall, yes, it's the quality of life, improving that. We've come far, we've come a long ways, but we definitely can do better. Thank you.
Mr. Furstner?
Thank you. The City of Ocoee is moving in the right direction. We've provided the city with a wonderful place to live and work and grow. We are currently just under 50,000 in population, and it's been estimated that we're going to increase to 75,000, 80,000 people. That's a lot of people. One of the things that we need to look at is the roadways and how we can control the traffic a little better than what it is now. I live in Westmere, just south of the Turnpike, and it took me a half hour tonight to drive from there to here. And it's due to nothing but the number of people on the roadways. It's rush hour. But anywhere you go in Central Florida, you're going to face the same problems. I have great faith in the Community Redevelopment Agency, the CRA. We're working along that State Road 50 or Colonial Drive corridor. And what that does is refresh and replenish the businesses that are there. It's designated to increase the economic growth in that area. It's self-sustaining. It's funded by a tax increment financing where the taxes generated from that area are put back into it, and that money is used to attract new businesses, to replenish and refresh the businesses that are there. I think that's going to help the city immensely in the near future. Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you. Over the next 10 years, as I've said, I think what we first have to do is address the current issues. Yes, we have to improve the traffic and congestion. Adding more roads will help with that. We have to balance the growth that we already have with more infrastructure. And I think that's step one. I believe that you listen and you learn and then you lead. I think that the city needs to bring the residents and the county together and sit down with developers. And I think we need to sell what I said, preserving the character of Ocoee. If you think about it for a minute, managing new development going forward over the next 5-10 years in a way that maintains the unique appeal of our city is good business for the developers. I think also we need to, there's an update coming to the comprehensive plan. I think we need to review the downtown master plan. With the inflation and cost have skyrocketed. I think we need to take another look at that and make sure that we're on target. And one of the things that I would do as a new commissioner is I would ask to expedite the Charter Review Board. That's not scheduled to be updated until 2027. And I think that we need to call for that board to get together and update the charter. There's been some weaknesses revealed in the charter. And I think if we work through those planning agencies and mechanisms that we have, I think the next 10 years will continue to be great and we'll all be proud to live in Ocoee. Thank you.
Mr. Bellamy?
It's on. Okay, it's on. One of the reasons I decided this was looking at going forward. Being that I am a tech guy, I looked at Orlando, which is becoming the new Silicon Valley. You have Kissimmee, it's moving up in tech. Orange County and Seminole County came together, bought some property, called it Neo City. Eatonville, $23 million project with technology being built in Eatonville. Claremont, tech. Everybody around Ocoee is becoming a smart city. We're growing in population, 50,000 to maybe 65, 75, 80,000. But the city is not becoming smarter. We know the roadways, we know the traffic, we know all that. But how do we make it better if we don't become smart? What I mean by a smart city is that transportation services like links be able to come in my district right now that currently does not. It's a way to help heat the buildings and solar panels, solar on your roof. Even with the traffic lights, if we was a smart city, a lot of the tickets that individuals be getting for running those red lights, they wouldn't be getting those tickets because there's a time lapse. We have a lot of shootings now being occurred and, gunfire here in Ocoee now. We cannot get around it. There's a program called Spot Shooter that we need in the city, that when a gun goes off, the police know exactly where it's at. We need to be transferring to new technology, not the old that we've been riding on.
All right, this question is for Ms. Munns. Since you have a residency here in Ocoee, are you giving up your homestead exemption you currently have on your Orlando home?
Let me be clear. Let me be clear when I say that my personal business is my personal business when it comes to my homestead and my personal home. So I'm sorry if that doesn't answer your question. I apologize. But like I said, my residence is here in Ocoee. I have been approved. I have been qualified And if you have any other questions, you need to take that up with the state. Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Firstner. Please name 3 initiatives, programs, or directives that you have self-initiated in your district in the past 4 years, and what is the value you add to the commission?
Okay. 3 initiatives that I have added to my district. I would think the number 1 initiative would be to add the streetlights on Roberson Road between Windermere and McGuire. Back in 2016, I believe it was, young man Johnny Riley, 18 years old, tragically died out there in one car accident. His family and friends, they started a petition to increase the lighting on that portion of the roadway. I was glad to take that up. I got with the Public Works Director and the City Manager, and none of us had any problem with that at all. We could see the benefit in that. There was a problem because the roadway was shared between us and Orange County, so unfortunately, it took 2 years to get those lights installed there. Another initiative was that I worked with Commissioner Betsy Vandelay of Orange County and Winter Garden to put that roundabout in at Windermere Road and Roberson Road. If you've driven that road before, you know what a nightmare it was without it. The third initiative was I worked with the Public Works Department, and we have replenished and refreshed the medians on McGuire Road and Old Winter Garden Road. We have repaved McGuire Road, and I'm going to work on repaving the Moore Street between McGuire and 7th Avenue. Thank you.
This question is from Mr. Bellamy. What is your definition of integrity?
That's an easy one. Me. I'm the definition of that. Walk it, talk it, and be about it. Integrity is something that I stand on daily. Integrity is who I have to be. As everyone knows, on the ballot it says Hope Bellamy. My first name is Shawante Bellamy. Where did hope come from? Integrity. What do hope stand for? Helping other people elevate. For the last 20 years, I've been standing on integrity in the community. No matter what race a person was, what age they was, what party they represented, I stood up and I made sure the right, just for the cause was always there. So integrity, you're looking at it.
This question is for Ms. Mums. Over the summer, you launched a campaign to unseat Republican Congressman Daniel Webster of District 11. Why the sudden interest in the local city politics and the Ocoee City Commission?
This seems to be a recurring question asked in many different forms and ways. I'm going to answer this. I'm pretty sure people know the history of Ocoee for once. The Ocoee Massacre. We cannot surmount until we acknowledge what has happened. A lot of the residents, if not some but few, maybe it does not pertain to you. But through the years, like I said, Ocoee has come a long ways, but it has not come far enough. And when you look at the diversity in the city and how it's trying to strive, that's one thing that we need to do, come together as one so we can move on more powerfully and strong. When you look at the Lotus represents and it signifies strength and growth. How can we not grow together with strength if we do not come together as one? And what I want to do is I want to bring the city together with the residents, with the business owners, so that we can surpass all the hardship and all the unwanted feelings that we're getting as a whole. Once we can put our differences aside and say, hey, this is what it is, how can we move forward to better our city, to better the growth, the economic development, the infrastructure, and be a prize-winning city, then we can get a lot. Ocoee is struggling right now, and it needs some sense of direction. Not saying that it's not headed in the right direction, but we need to focus so we can get there at a quicker and greater speed than what we have now. I mean, you do have leaders that are great, that work within the city, but we can all do better. And that's why I think that Ocoee needs representation that represents them, because we can do better overall together. Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Kennedy. Does balancing growth include annexing any land to the City of Ocoee in District 1, in particular, just south of the 429 and Claricona-Ocoee intersection?
Wow.
Say that again.
Want me to repeat it? You got it?
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math in my head, pardon me. Yes, as a member of the Planning and Zoning Board until recently, a lot of the property, I think people don't understand that a lot of the property and a lot of the new development that's going on, that land is in the county. And it's very normal and frequent that we would receive a zoning request and a preliminary site plan and an annexation request, sometimes all at the same time. That's a good thing frequently. It allows the city and especially our local residents to review those plans and have input. And I've been happy and proud to contribute to that. I think we don't want development managed by the county. I think they've shown, I think they have broader interest than we do living here. I've lived here for 20 years, and I think, I think those projects should be annexed into the city, and I think the development should be managed by the city and by the residents.
This question is for Mr. Bellamy. You posted publicly that you have proudly never paid taxes in your life. Please explain how us citizens are supposed to feel confident with you making the right decisions when it comes to the City of Ocoee's taxpayer money.
That question came up off a Facebook social media post, which was a meme in reference to Donald Trump. So the individual who wrote that, you might want to read the whole post. I own a company. Before my mother passed away last year, she handled all my taxes. I'm quite sure that anyone here that wants to go investigate, I have no problem with, like the Sunshine Law, it's public information. I'll supply it.
This question is for all the candidates. We have a city manager form of government. What is your feelings on full-time elected officials? Mr. Firstner, you can answer first.
I'm pleased with the commission city manager form of government. It provides separation. We all have our separate and distinct functions. City manager has been with us now for 15 or 18 years, I believe, which is unheard of in the field of city management. It's just one of those jobs where one individual doesn't stay in a position that long. He has broken the mold on that, mainly because of his performance. We have the ability to move him along if we're not happy with the way that he's managing the city. He has done an outstanding job managing the departments, the department heads, the staff, and he works so well with the city commission that there's no problem at all. Apopka traditionally had a strong mayor form of government. And that over the years had become an oddity, really, because not many other communities had that. You have to understand, John Land was a great man, and he did a great job, and he was entrenched in that position, and they functioned very well with that. But I don't think that just any city, per se, Ocoee, can transition to a strong mayor form of government and operate as well as we are now. Thank you.
Ms. Munns? Sure. We have a city manager form of government. What is your feelings on full-time elected officials?
Well, with full-time elected officials, you can get a lot more done than what you can part-time officials. With part-time officials, sometimes you'll look at it and they'll think it's a hobby, something to do every now and then. And based on some of the issues that we have going on within the city of Ocoee, I think they need to put a little bit more time and effort in. Get those feet wet, get to walking, get to engaging with the community, find out what's going on. Get feedback from your constituents, from your residents, from your business owners. When you get more feedback and you get more engaged, that's more civil engagement. And then from there, you can get down to the bottom of things and find out what's really going on, how you can work around things, how you can resolve things, and how you can move forward. So when it comes to full-time, yes, I do think we need full-time. Part-time, you can only get so much done within a work hour of a day. So full-time, yes, is needed right now. Thank you.
Mr. Bellamy?
Yes. My answer to that question is that I think any elected official by the community should be a full-time position. That's part of the problem why things are not getting done, because we're moving on a part-time basis with meetings and working together on workshops. You should be committed to your district. You should be committed to the city that elected you in that position. When you come part-time, you give part-time results. There's things that are going on in the daytime that residents need to contact you, if you're a commissioner, about in your district, not just when it's meeting days, and that's why they don't show up to the meetings, because it's not a good time for them to get here. But maybe if we had meetings at different times or going out into the community more, which means that you have to be a full-time, employee. So I'm definitely agreeing with that. I think anybody who's elected by the city should work full-time for the city.
Mr. Kennedy?
I'm totally against that. We have professional, full-time staff here at the city. They're extremely skilled, they're specialized, and they do get things done. The elected representatives, we say your voice is your vote. Their job is to express the will of the people that they represent and make tough decisions on behalf of those people. Their job is not to implement day-to-day operations to get those things done. You can't a single person doesn't have the skill set, doesn't know everything. We talk about diversity, there's diversity right there. You can't run a business, you can't run an enterprise the size of the city that way with 5 people. How would that work? Additionally, if you did pay full-time, let's say you paid commissioners, I've heard proposals, $70,000 a year and a mayor $90,000 a year, you're adding over $500,000 a year to our budget. We have discussions, I mentioned the budget process, the sidewalk budget for the city, is there one? It's gone from $10,000 to $30,000 to $40,000 to $70,000. This year, I think there's $250,000 in the budget for sidewalks. A lot of people say their opinion is that's not enough. Before we spend $500,000 to hire full-time commissioners, if we have that money, let's spend it on infrastructure. Let's spend it on sidewalks. Let's spend it on red lights and street lights and stop signs and stop the fatalities that are happening in our communities for no reason. Thank you.
Okay, this will be the last question before closing remarks. And this is for all the commissioners. Please discuss your vision for celebrating inclusion and diversity in your districts. And we'll start with Mr. Bellamy.
Great. So in my district, there is Caucasians, Hispanics, Mexicans, Indians, Jewish, African Americans. But we have nothing here in my district that represents everybody as a whole. There definitely needs to be an inclusion even here at the city level. I have heard complaints of people who speak Spanish who come down here and couldn't get the help they needed, or maybe Haitian that speaks Creole and they not getting it. And I'm asked, well, we have these music festivals and all these events, but what about, like the Latino community who has events all across America, or, the Haitians who have, Haitian Flag Day that's represented all over. Why don't we have that here in not just my district, but in Ocoee as a whole? Ocoee as a whole, people like to say that we came a long way, but my inboxes, my threats, are not saying we came a long way. It's saying it's still here, but it's being hidden and showed. So in my district, in Ocoee as a whole, we need to do more events that's multicultural based and working across the board.
Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you. I mentioned I served on the Human Relations Diversity Board, and I also served on the subcommittee for the Ocoee Remembers July Perry event. First, I want to correct something. This city has moved a long way. In the past 20 years, our population has from 10,000 to 50,000 people, 15,000 to 48,000 people. This is an amazing, diverse, rich, vibrant city. And due to work of a lot of volunteers and leaders, this city did issue a proclamation recognizing what happened 100 years ago, and it issued an apology. We do need to celebrate diversity. On the subcommittee, I was asked by someone involved in the community, as we were building our agenda, what were we doing specifically to highlight the racial strife in America and Ocoee? That was the question I was asked. And I was very proud of our board because we said, nothing. That's not what we're doing here. I have made motions on the HRDB to celebrate and to acknowledge all cultural and heritage events, Jewish American history, Native American history. Many members have done that. And we should be we have these citizens in our community. They own businesses, they're our neighbors, and we should be bringing them forward in commission meetings and highlighting them and letting the world know what a wonderful place Ocoee is and what great diversity we have. That's how you celebrate it, is you promote it, you stand for it, and you encourage it. And if I'm elected as the commissioner for District 1, that's what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Mr. Firstner.
Can I speak on that? Can I speak on that?
No, sir.
Okay, all right.
I live in District 3, and to say what would we do in our district to celebrate or support or organize is not really very logical, because my district consists mainly of gated communities. And just by nature of the gated communities, they want to be left alone. They don't want you to come into it. So to get a group going in that district of all the gated communities, I don't see that happening. I just don't see that. But the city in general, our Human Relations Diversity Board does a wonderful job. They have the remembrance, the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade, many other different events like that. But my problem with them is that they don't expand that out. Now, there are a few members that have mentioned how it should be expanded, and I agree with that. It should include all the races, really be diversified, include Hispanic Americans, the Asian Americans, the Native Americans, the veterans. I donated some of my discretionary money this year to the HRDB in order for them to accomplish what they were looking for in their unity celebration. But still, I asked them at that time, please, next year, look into expanding their scope and including more races, more diversity inside the city, and expand on that so everyone is involved. Thank you.
Ms. Mons?
Cultivating an atmosphere for diversity is something that we, the city, lack. And in District 3, let me go there before I go forward. I hope I can do this in 2 minutes. Yes, we do have a gated community back on the far side, but did you forget about the other people who need assistance, who needs resources, that live in trailer park homes on that side? That's where you put the community in for need for help, for need for aid, for need for assistance. And when you're talking about, oh, you apologize for what was done back in the Great Ocoee Massacre, no, apology does not help for those who have lost their properties. Who proffers from the properties that were lost? Do the people, the descendants of them, do they get reparations for those properties? How are they compensated? They have not been compensated at all. And you do have descendants who still live to this day who stated, and I know you can go to the city website and you can watch the Channel 9 News documentary on it. Yes, they had the mayor sitting there. They had other people and residents that were here. They have not had any satisfaction or reparations for that. So when you say that this city is very diverse, with people, yes, we are diverse, but do we celebrate as one, as a culture, as another? No. Martin Luther King, it is for everybody. It's not for just blacks. It's not for whites. It's everybody coming together as one equally. And until we get that through some of our thick skulls, we will never be able to come and pass that. So when you sit here and say that Ocoee has done some things, yes, we have done some things. But let me ask you, what have you done for Black Month history? This is Black Month history. Black History Month, nothing. MLK is its own separate holiday within itself. So when you look at the month through February, what has Ocoee done? What festivities do we have that is Black History Month? Next month is Women's Month, if you look at that. So yes, you need to have other events, engaging events that would engage everybody from the community, from all walks of life, race, background, and color. So when you look at that as a whole for Ocoee, yes, we have come a ways, but we need to do better. We need to come far. We need to sit down at the table and address some things, because these are kitchen table conversations that keep coming back up and that are never addressed, never resolved, and never have a conclusion at the end of the day. So when you're sitting there looking at that, can we do better? Yes, we can. I'm done.
Okay, the question and answer period of the forum is now concluded. At this time, we invite each candidate to present their 2-minute final statement. We'll start with District 3, Richard Firstner.
I thank you for the opportunity to coming here tonight and participating in the forum. I just want to say that over the past 7 years, I've been the commissioner of District 3. I've listened to what the residents and the business owners have said. I've brought those concerns and complaints to the city for resolution, and I think I've done a pretty good job at doing that. I like the way the city is moving. It's moving ahead. We're making great progress in a lot of areas. It's a pretty big job. And I do this on a part-time basis, if you want to look at it from a pay perspective. But when we discussed raising our salaries in the commission meeting, I offered to give mine up because that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to collect a salary. I'm here to serve the public. I'm here to represent the public because I am part of this community. And the people that I represent are my neighbors. I shop at the same stores. I drive down the same streets. I have the same concerns that they do, so I understand them. I think I can provide 4 more additional years of the service that I've given to the city. I'm proud of what I've done, and I think the people are generally happy with the service that I've provided them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mons?
As a whole, as a city, as a resident, as a business owner, as a whole, we all need to do better. We do not need a commissioner who comes around during election time, part of the time. We need a commissioner that's more engaged with their community. When you sit and you ask residents, who is the commissioner? Out of 20 residents I've asked, they didn't know who the commissioner was of the district. When you only attend to certain parts of your district and forget about other parts of the district, that becomes an issue. Everyone as a whole needs to be addressed. When you come to me with a problem, a concern, anything of that nature, I'm going to listen and I'm going to heed. And I'm going to make sure that that problem is followed through to where we have a resolution. And then once the resolution is done, I'm going to follow up with you and I'm going to ask you, how was my work? How was my service? Because the big thing, the most thing that people want to hear in the city of Ocoee is that they're valued residents, that they're valued business owners. And if not some, if not all, majority of them feel that they're not valued in some way, form, or another, whether it be through constituent services, civil engagement, or whether it's through economic development, having their voice said when something comes through. I think that moving forward, we need to pay attention to everybody's opinions, at least take it into consideration when making major decisions as a city personnel. And as that, I plan on looking at your decisions, listening to you, and at hearing what you have to say. And when you call, I'm going to answer right away. Thank you again.
Okay, we're going to listen to District 1's closing arguments. We'll start with Mr. Bellamy.
Thank you. In closing, first, I just want to touch on a topic that I was not going to touch on through this whole campaign. This is the July Perry situation. A lot of people like to know, well, what have you been doing and where have you been? And I've been sitting in a lot of meetings for years here in Ocoee and Orange County as well. A lot of individuals does not know how the July Perry situation even got to becoming a factor here in Ocoee where it started at. There was neighboring cities around Ocoee. There were news anchors calling about the story of July Perry. When the bandwagon was hyped around Orange County and different cities, Mr. Oliver and other individuals from Ocoee was like, hey, you know what, let's do something here in Ocoee. And truth be told, the only reason why it really became what it was because the mayor and Mr. Oliver got into a big clash about the situation. and Mr. Rusty overrid Mr. Oliver and brought it here. Let's be real. Let's gotta be honest. See, a lot of individuals are not in those meetings. You weren't at them city commission. You weren't at those events. You wasn't there. So all you seen will transpire after the fact when Mr. Oliver and them said, well, hey, let's do it over in Ocoee. That's what happened. And that's the truth. That's why it came here to Ocoee where it transpired that. It wasn't here before then. Why? Why wasn't that factor before then? It became a factor when it became the it factor to use as a hype. I'm here education, housing, economic growth, community safety, police relations, senior services, and bipartnerships. Working together daily.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the discussion this evening, and I want to thank you for the invitation. I remember the exact moment when I thought about running for this seat. It was in the summer of '21, and I was here in the city commission meetings, in the audience, as I usually am, and there was a proposal for a cement plant on Ocoee Road, just south of where we all live in District 1. And there was, as I recall, not a single person in our district or in the city who came and spoke and supported that proposal. I stood up and I advocated against it, advocating for the residents, my neighbors in my community. And I watched, frankly, as my commissioner voted for that proposal. I've told you that the foundation of my campaign is the work I've done representing my neighbors. And I went back and I spoke to them, and they encouraged me to run. I'm very honored and frankly very humbled to say my strongest supporters, the people supporting my campaign, are my neighbors. They're the people who know me the best, and they're supporting me. They're the ones who encouraged me to run. They've told me, they've said, when you run, we want to put a sign in our yard. We want people to know we support you. We want to write you a check. We want to support your campaign. Serve, lead, and solve. Your slogan, that's exactly what you've done for 20 years for us. Keep going. We're proud of you. That's why I'm running. That's why I'm trying to earn and asking for your vote. Please vote on March 14th. Thank you.
Okay, this concludes tonight's forum. Excuse me. On behalf of the Women's Club, we wish to thank the candidates for their participation, the citizens for their questions, and the City of Ocoee for their usual and utmost cooperation, allowing the Women's Club to conduct this political forum in the city chambers. We also want to thank the City Clerk's Office, Community Relations Department, and the IT Department for coordination of all the little details to make this event a success, and affording the Women's Club the opportunity to help our community make an informed choice in the leadership of the city. I would like all of the Women's Club members to come out and take a bow. This is just part of us. Again, we want to wish everybody thank you. Candidates, thank you so much for your time and your dedication and wanting to serve the city. We appreciate it. Thank everyone and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.